devices if you've got to go off or silented. Otherwise, you pay a hefty fine if they go off. Right. Nice.
Okay.
I'm vicious on that one. The meeting is being held in the supper room at the Waihanga Centre, Martinborough, on the 29th of August, 7 p.m, and it's being broadcast live on YouTube. Just a few health and safety briefings. Should an emergency arise, 2 exits to leave from, go stand out by the playgrounds and wait till we're allowed to come back. We get to come back. We should do. Now we start with the karakia, and today is a very experimental day because all members are going to try and say the karakia collectively. So we may make mistakes and hold us to that.
Had a practice it, I don't know.
But we'll get you when you're ready to go.
Kia ora te marinoa, kia whakapapa pounamu te moana, hei huarahi mā tātou, i te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa, huie, taihie.
So, first order, do we have any apologies? Wouldn't think so. So we can tick that one off. Any conflicts of interest? None. Thank you. Any acknowledgements or tributes?
Yeah, I've got one. Want to acknowledge the passing of Ashley Mudford. Ashley was a lion in town, and if you remember, he came and spoke with the community board.
Yes.
And he was one of the people behind, well, he was the main person behind getting the full page in the Martinborough Star community page, to make sure that our volunteers and all our groups had a space. So it was quite sudden, and it's, yeah, quite recent. So got all our sympathies going to
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much. So now we have.
Can I just make I'd like to acknowledge the and congratulate the Martinborough Community Board for recently last week at the LGNZ meeting they won an award. It's a national award, and the Martinborough Community Board was recognised for its working in conjunction with the South Wairarapa for the emergency. In fact, I'll make sure Angela. What's the wording again, Angela?
the resilience.
The resilience project. So congratulations and well done.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you. So now we've got 5 speakers. There will be 6 slots speaking. Now, because one person has 2 and are not related to the other, I'm going to ask Charlotte Harding to step forward and just give us your 2. Now, everybody has 5 minutes. If you want, that's going to incorporate any questions that are had. If you're just making a statement, you can make your statement. You don't have to use all the 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes there, but you will be time kept. Charlotte.
Is there any particular order you would like to move?
No, it's up to you.
Okay. I will go pump track update first then. Hello, everybody. So pump track, exciting news, an update for you all is the build is locked in. So we will commence build, weather dependent, of course. This does play a part on the 14th of October. Yes, this year.
Oh, wow.
Good news.
Yes, it is. So acknowledgement and thank you for the funding Biplane Farm that contributed to us really making that last leap to locking in the build. I have some pretty pictures, and if I'd have been incredibly organised, I would have sent those to Robin to share with you, but those pretty pictures will be broadcast. I will send them to Robin and you will get them shortly, but we're also going to be launching those within the community in the next few days when I get organised, having some printouts around town, but it will be for anybody that, like me, struggles visually with a flat 2D. It's a scoped out 3D image.
Right.
It's actually look like on situ, so it's very exciting. So those are very cool. And Trail Pro, who we have been working with, have done that for free because in acknowledgement for the way this project has been put together. So as you know, it's a community-led project, and Trail Pro, who we engaged to do the work, which were the third team that we went to, would work with us in the way that we wanted to work. So we wanted to, they totally got the community-led vibe, and the quote that they gave us right at the beginning was as if they would come in and build it like any contractor would do, that you would engage. But they were also very willing to work with us as a community, and they knew about all the offers of help that we had, and they were willing to take those items out. And not many contractors would be willing to do that. And in fact, that's why we've been able to lock it in now, because we've taken landscaping, machinery, asphalt's been dealt with locally. Accommodation has been, we've worked with a local provider, the surveying we're just working on, and the pre-build setup is all being taken on as a community, and Byron has been very happy for us to do that. So that makes a big difference when you're looking at the end figure. And I wanted to come and share that with you, I suppose, as an update, because I think that there'd been a bit of misunderstanding around that and the why we'd gone, but the why we went with these people is because they totally got the community angle and have supported us in that the whole way. So I hope we will welcome Byron and the team who will come down well in the community, because they will live here for 3 to 4 weeks solidly while they build. So yeah, so that's a kind of an update on that. I don't think there's, yeah, go.
You're going to have a soil breaking ceremony?
Well, we weren't going to make too much of a soil breaking ceremony. I'm more about the end result, when we can actually get the kids on it and be playing. And I think that might be in a wee update you have later. But we have had a very generous fan and supporter with a considerable donation privately. And we have suggested that that person might like to put a spade in the ground.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Because they are making a trip to come for that time.
Okay.
So we have, but that will probably be quite low key.
Yeah.
So if you can, if you can share the pictures with us, we could put on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, let me put them on our Facebook page first. That would be awesome. But I will, and James very kindly updated the page for me that the council has had on their website the whole time.
Okay.
So I will get him to put the pretty pictures up, but they are very cool, and I'll get them through to Robin for you to see.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Cool. Right. Start. New hat. I am presenting secondly on behalf of the Heartlands Services Centre that is in Martinborough, and I believe that there has been a presentation previously, but I just wanted to come and say hi. Obviously, I have been working at Heartlands for 2 months now, and have talked to a few of you. I've had Karen and Angela in to have a chat with me. Obviously, Pip worked alongside me there, but I just wanted to come and give you an update on what we're doing at Heartlands, just through the conversations with these guys as well, of suggesting that might be a good thing to do. So Heartlands now has been open for 9 months. Year 1 of the contract is all about connection. We've been in this beautiful space where we haven't been forced to do anything. We've been sort of given this really free scope of purely connecting with community, engaging to make sure people know what we're there for. And my current tagline, just so we're all across it, is that we're a doorway to government services, things like MSD, IRD, all the government services that you could ever try to think of, we can probably pull in, and it's about us knowing what people need. And we're also working obviously with all local Wairarapa community organisations for the support that the community needs. So like I say, we're in this beautiful space, we're not being told what to do, it's about finding out what our community needs, which is a long and slow process when you've had nothing like this before. Here, South Wairarapa, Martinborough specifically, and further south, obviously Featherstone have got the community centre, which is, as we know, a huge success. A lot of the government services are in Masterton, but people further south than Martinborough have to travel a long way to do that, and inevitably may decide to just get on with things themselves. So we've spent a lot of, I've obviously only been on board 2 months, and I'm on board for a year while I keep Hannah making seat warm as she's gone on maternity leave. But that's given me the opportunity to work in a new space. Obviously, REAP Wairarapa overarch us as the people that got the contract for Heartland Services, and so we benefit hugely from the capability that they bring. And we have the BFC team, Building Financial Capabilities team, with us every Monday, and we think that will be something that grows vastly for the current climate we're in, and also the support that's needed. And we're seeing that grow. We're seeing people start to come in and see Marima, who's there every Monday. We have the ability to connect with the early childhood facilities that REAP have, and we've got a chatterbox session, which is English, early youth language, babies, toddlers, etc., coming up soon. And then we're tapping in to all the community things. So the 3 drivers at the moment at Heartlands are the senior community, which is a huge driver for us currently. The financial support is really starting to take off, and I spend an hour a week at the food bank every week. So I go and hang out with May and the team of volunteers during pickup time at our food bank. And that has been a really good opportunity to connect with people that, and I'm, we're doing it quite slowly. I've just been hanging out for about 3 weeks, just being a face that people recognise. We've now introduced me formally through the boxes, and in the last 2 weeks I've had conversations one-on-one with clients, which has seen those clients come in or us put people in touch with them. So slowly but surely, as we expected it, and Pip and Hannah expected it right from the get-go, it was going to be slow, but we are definitely seeing a shift and people being aware of us and things happening, which is really awesome for the space. We've got some exciting things coming up in September, so it's continually growing and evolving, and that's through the work that we're doing with connecting with people. We've done a lot. We're doing a lot of conversations with rural support, Sarah Donaldson, who works out in the rural communities, and we recently have collaborating with a wellbeing grant that went through in the hope that we can do some work there with the rural communities. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So does anybody have any questions? That is very much a global diarrhea situation.
Easy question. Might be just an easy question. Funding. So Heartlands REAP applied for the funding. Is it money coming from the DIA? Where's
MSD is Heartlands across the nation. It's funded by MSD. REAP got the contract. They got to manage.
And is it a set period of time?
I think no, not that I'm aware of. I think it's quite an open scope at this stage. Yeah, we report to MSD on a quarterly basis, and that includes the amount of people that come through the door, the services, and that's broken down into every service they need: government, non-government, face-to-face, non-face-to-face. So that's a constant, ongoing thing, and we're seeing the numbers trend up.
Can I
Quickly.
Just is it appropriate? I've been asked, is it appropriate for people to go into the site in Jericho Street at any time, or does it?
Any time while we're open.
9 till 4.
Right.
Till 4.
You don't have to have an appointment for.
No, you can. Kettle things on.
9 to 4.
And we're very,
Thank you, Charlotte.
All right.
Yeah.
Done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for the update. Thanks, Charlotte.
Now, so I've got 4 other people coming for the rates and remissions. One's not here. I can't see. Definitely not here. Definitely. So I've got 4 people here. If I just read them from the notes, you just come up and say, sorry. Listening with intent. So Roger, let's start with you. Now, as I say, for everybody, you can just make a statement or you can take your 5 minutes and speak whatever you want to do. Just be mindful not to abuse us.
Not to what?
Abuse us.
More than.
More than usual. Yeah.
Harden up, Storm.
Roger, your time started now.
Okay. Thanks for the chance to be here. I am to hear about the rates. I'm going to make some strong points, but I think they're really important. And I would hope that the councillors that are here and you, Mr. Chair, carry them back to the rest of the councillors and the CEO with some strong support, because this rates increase is quite troubling. I'd like to make one more point before I start, even though it's using up my 5 minutes. I reckon there'd be a lot more people here tonight if they were more confident to come and speak, if they hadn't had bad experiences before with committees and South Wairarapa District Council, or if they're just embarrassed to come and talk about their financial situation. So I think what you see in this room and what you're going to hear tonight is a pretty small part of the population that's concerned by what's happened.
Thank you. So I think we feel that too through the community.
Yeah, thank you. So 3 points I want to make. Rates are now here in the South Wairarapa at or beyond the level that many people can afford. And that's not exaggerating. They've exceeded inflation now for 5 years by huge margins. And because those increases are baked into future rates, rates never go down, just like grocery prices never go down. So these big sums that we're talking about today are there tomorrow and the next day. And I'll give you some examples of what rates look like to a consumer. If we didn't have what they call a second SUIP on our property, our rates would have grown 118% over the last 5 years. With an SUP, that's my rates growth. For those behind me, it looks like that. That's huge, $5,000. Okay. Now, why we have what we call an SUIP is because we have a dependent 99-year-old mum living with us that we built a little extension for. Now, we've been asked to apply, suggested we apply for a remission, may or it may not be approved, but in the meantime, you imagine the stress that's on us and on my mum-in-law. $5,000 is a lot of money for someone who's on a fixed income, which brings me to my second point, really. I wonder, and I'd ask the two councillors in the room to be tolerant of this question, but I wonder if you really all appreciated the double whammy that the rates changes incorporated this year. Valuation increases, which is what drives our basic number, and then the second SUIP. They're huge. When I talked to your mayor about it, I've had some dialogue because I'm pretty upset about this, as you can tell. He said the councils knew exactly what they were doing. And I have to say, if that's true, I'm disappointed in my councillors. So these are big numbers, big numbers. My third point is that the SUIP specifically disadvantages people in lots of different ways. People like ourselves trying to accommodate my mum-in-law, people like my neighbours who have built small B&Bs who want to plan for their retirement. And then now with these charges, you've got to rent a lot of rooms to cover that $5,000 jump. So people's retirement planning is damaged. So it's pretty serious stuff. And then, and I fall into this category, there are others who are going to get charged, well, hopefully I'll be able to argue my corner, but if not, be charged twice for services I don't get because I could possibly have them. And that's wrong. Totally wrong. So to summarise on the SUIP, I think it's leading to major issues around equity, affordability and community well-being. We talk about well-being all the time, but just bear in mind what we're talking about here in terms of the numbers. They're huge. And now I see ad hoc decisions being made, like my neighbours, my dear neighbours who are behind me. Some of them have been told that, oh, well, they're on trickle feeds, they won't get charged twice the water, whatever that term is for the second service. Well, I haven't heard that. So why are we, the whole thing, I think, has been poorly communicated. That letter of the 11th of July was a disaster, patronising, could never have gone out. That made me really angry. It took me a few days to get over. But yeah, so I just don't know. We're having another consultation round next week about the remissions policy. So why are people being trickle-fed stuff like, oh, well, maybe we can exempt your second water supply? So I'm just really worried about how it's being managed as well. I think it reflects very badly on all of us. Now, the $64 question, of course, is what do you do for the money you need for infrastructure? And I know that's a very hard question. 5 minutes is up? All right, well, I'll just finish with saying this. I believe 96 employees in the South Wairarapa District Council is far, far too many. 68 2 years ago. Similar councils around New Zealand, because I've researched it, are around 60. Thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you for coming in. I appreciate your input.
Very much.
Appreciate your input.
Thank you.
If everybody understands, we can't debate what's being said tonight, but we will have a discussion after. Okay. Didn't do that much. Right, Rachel. Same thing applies, Rachel.
Yep, kia ora tātou, go Richard Weekend, Ko Campbell Drive. I feel a little bit humbled actually following on from Roger, because I feel that he has done such an amazing job of summarising things so succinctly. So thank you, Roger. I guess really for me, the concern remains the same. As someone who is quite impacted with an 80% increase from last year on my rates, I just need to highlight, and I ask you as our representatives and councillors, that you consider that, you know, $5,000 is a lot of money to conjure up from somewhere. And we're kind of scratching our head a little bit at the moment as to how we're going to do that. We are fortunate we have a cottage on our property that we have over the years used for purposes of family, but also Airbnb. We don't make $5,000 a year off that cottage. So how we're going to do it is going to be quite interesting. Of course, we're at a time of particularly high interest rates. So all of that compounded makes our dilemma quite personal when we're faced with the question of whether we can continue to live here. And as a public servant myself, I understand that there is a really big responsibility to be transparent and engage with your communities, but I do believe that there is quite a high degree of accountability as well that comes with that. I know my own personal circumstances, the accountability that is expected of me in my role, and I ask the same of the council to think very carefully about the impact this has on, mum and pop lifestylers. Basically, that seems to be the group that is particularly offended, particularly affected, should I say. We have talked to some people, and you'll see in the room that 50% plus is not an uncommon number. Roger talked about his experience, and I've heard others talk in the same vein that over the last 5 years, it's actually been an increase of nearly 300%. Rates. That's quite substantive, and our salaries are not going up by the same amount if we're fortunate enough to hold our jobs. And so I guess my ask of this council is to really think about what the solutions might be. I know that there has been quite a bit of consideration in the past about consolidation across the Waiarapa council landscape as a whole, and I just wonder if there's an opportunity to return to that type of solution or as a possibility. I'd like to think that we can look at potentially other means of extracting value out of our ecosystem, and that's not just relying on people that have a second dwelling that potentially could create an income, because it doesn't always. So really, that's where I sit at this point in time. I'm just looking for fairness, equity, transparency, because I share some of the frustrations that Roger has expressed, and being able to get a consistent, transparent, timely response from the executives within our council. And I think that it's actually fundamental to their public service that they should be leaning into supporting and embracing their community, not disenfranchising them, putting them in financial perilous positions and then ignoring them. Thank you.
I just thank you so much. Thank you for taking.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it. So next on the list that I have is Shane.
Good evening. Okay, these guys have covered on much of what I was going to talk about. What I would like to do is I'd like to bring to your attention the disparity that we have in the collection of our rates. We operate a system now where your rates are governed by the capital value of your home. Now, if you have a property that has a high capital value, you get charged more. The person that's got the house down the road from you, who has got less capital value in their property gets charged less. Some people have actually had reductions in their rates. Now, the problem that I have with that is that everybody in this town, in this district, uses the same facilities. Everybody. There is no difference between me having 2 properties on my home to somebody who is down the road from me that has a property that can take up to 17 people with an Airbnb, and they don't get charged. Now, interestingly enough, I listened to the presentation that Christopher Luxon gave to the Local Government New Zealand conference, and I think South Wairarapa Council would do very, very well to listen to what that man said. I don't particularly like him, but he gave an incredibly good and informed speech. And if I sit down and I look at the parallels that he was drawing to what we have here, with respect to a venue that was built in Wellington at a huge cost with leaking pipes out the front, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the Waihanga Centre and I'm looking at the bloody roads out the back that have got water pouring out of them. I'm looking at a sewerage system that doesn't work. So I think that this council needs to seriously look at how they're doing business. And the thing that I want to really emphasise is the government is looking at changes. They've clearly stated they have an expectation that councils are transparent and that they are fair in what they are doing. And I'm afraid they're not. I don't know how I'm going to find $5,000 in an increase on my property. One of your representatives said in the paper, we were looking at a 15.3% increase in our rates. Well, we budgeted for that. It was hard, but we budgeted for it. Now, all of a sudden, and I don't want to offend anybody, some lunatic says we're going to go by capital value. Well, it's not right. You know, people have got exemptions. If you've got somebody that lives in a minor dwelling in your home, you are exempt. How does that work? My occupancy rating at the moment is 6% because people are on the bones of their backside. They can't afford to go anywhere. We've had people cancelling bookings. So I want you to think about this. I want this council for once to think about the impact that it's having on its ratepayers. You're elected by us. You're supposed to represent us. You know, and I've got to tell you, you're not that flash. I'm being very, very honest. You know, I sometimes sit back and I look at trying to get a building permit in this place. We can't even build in the town now. What does that do for builders? I'm a builder. What do you think it does for me as a builder? Greytown, I can't build in Greytown. And the irony of this is that you're actually going to lose revenue. You're going to lose rates. You're going to lose people coming into the Wairarapa and making it a vibrant area. You're killing the place. Think about what you're doing. I'm sorry if I'm angry, but poor.
So I understand, just
Really appreciate it.
down, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that there's a lot of, honestly, there are a lot of angry people out there, and Roger's actually got it down. They don't want to come and talk to you.
We appreciate
Yeah.
you for coming in.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yep. Yeah, no, thank you.
So next on the list is Anthony. I know this is a very emotional topic, but please don't be too critical of people. Have to be mindful of how we do things.
I just want to hand you guys a copy
Sure, thank you.
of what we
Pass them around there, we'll just move
I'll pass them down.
enough.
Any there? Oh. That's no, that's all.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Shane, same applies. Sorry, Shane. Anthony, same applies.
yeah,
5 minutes.
no worries.
If you want feedback, you need to count that in at the back end.
Yeah. Okay, I've handed you all out notices. This is through careful observation of presentations. Now, I do that very carefully, and what's going to be exposed tonight, I don't want anyone to go into shock because it's absolute criminal, okay? And it's with absolute respect, with proof of claim. The goal in this presentation is to expose fraud within the government bodies. Do we really have a say?
Anthony, we just got to be careful. The wording is not that. We can't use that sort of, sorry.
That's an evidence.
But we can't accept that sort of wording in these presentations. That's where you just have to keep it down.
Do we?
I understand your point,
Yep.
but you
Okay.
be careful of what you say.
Do we really have a say? Are we heard? Has the local government claimed to have absolute authority over all landowners? There's a big question. What is debt bondage? It is an uncapped perpetual liability, and that's put on the landowners. Is an action of debt bondage a criminal action in New Zealand? I think so. As the council is doing business, it is a corporation bound by the basic principles and rules of commerce and contract. Question: how has the council gained authority over us without our consent? Does fraud destroy everything upon which it touches? I think it does.
Just again,
As the council,
please.
this is in your legislation I'm bringing this out of. Okay, so sorry.
Yeah, but just the word.
Has the council coerced us, forced us, using misleading presentations upon us, such as false identities for pecuniary advantage and reward? Did we purchase land, or did we purchase a rating unit? Are we required to ask for consent to do anything on our own land? Is our ability to self-determine being removed? These are serious questions. Has the council corporation used our properties directly or indirectly as security for its debt that has been incurred without our consent? This is an action of serfdom and debt bondage.
Anthony, I'm just.
Section 98 of the Crimes Act, that's from.
You're saying if you've got you've
served them,
Anthony, please. I'm just saying you've got to be careful of the wording you're using, please.
Excuse me, this wording is straight out of the Crimes Act, 1961, section 98.
But you're addressing that to the councillors.
Yes,
and it's not that in case.
That's what?
You're addressing this to the councillors if it's a criminal act.
This is questions and I'm putting statements to it, okay? Serfdom, you believe you own the property, but you are only a tenant. If you cannot pay the rates, your right to live there is removed. Serfdom and debt bondage hold a top end of 14 years in prison. Reference section 98, 1 and 2 of the New Zealand Crimes Act 1961. Now, how has the local government achieved these actions? Using ignorance and false beliefs, reference to claim of right, and section 28 of the New Zealand Crimes Act 1961.
Anthony, then you just have to tone it down. I'm going to have to ask you to stop if you're going to continue down this track.
These are questions.
But they're not.
They're not questions, they're direct.
Excuse me, this is facts and evidence. It's out of your legislation, and transparency is very important.
Yeah,
full transparency is very important.
Got your document and we'll use that, but you've just got to be what you're saying here.
Yeah, I'm leaving bits out that I'm trying to comply with you. Is this action using misleading contents within presentations? It's a question. Are these actions using legislation of a specific corporation to deceive the staff? This is a question of the corporation and the landowners for pecuniary advantage and reward. It's a question. What is misleading content?
This question in this document?
That's all a question.
Is the question in the document?
Yeah.
Just point me to where it is.
Pardon?
Can you just point me to where it is? What page? I've got a 2-page document here. The question you've just asked, is it in this document?
It is. So I'm going to get to it.
Can you point me to where the question is?
I'm just reading the script here at the moment.
I know, but I'm just asking a specific question.
Are these actions or legislations?
So what page is that? Is it the front or back page?
It's still in the document.
It's already
I've got the document. I just want to see where the question is.
Hang on.
It's on that one in case you can't follow
Okay.
yours.
So you can't come through it here.
Does the presentation ask for full legal
Anthony,
of a person?
you actually just,
Hang on.
Hang on,
I
hang
just want quietness, quiet here.
Anthony, we're going to have to call a stop to the meeting and your 5 minutes are up.
No, you've been interfering all the way through and you're not allowing me to have transparency here.
5 minutes are up.
You're perverting the course of justice.
Not in.
It's now a crime scene.
No.
I'm
Call the meeting.
Yes.
and you're trying to pervert
Again.
the
Call the
course
meeting
of
to
justice.
an
For the record, and for the record, this meeting today.
Anthony, stop.
Bring one
Yeah.
phone line if you guys like, because
Cut the meeting.
if you can read the rest of it, it's too late, bro.
Cut the meeting.
You comprehend what's being reading here?
Yeah.
No. You want to know more? Absolute criminal. You're on the record. Are you Janice? You know all about me and you're not.
Anthony,
That's not.
Sharing.
sit down.
Criminal organisation.
Thanks for coming, Anthony.
So we have adjourned the meeting quietly for the time being, but I haven't asked everybody to leave. So look, I'm sorry, but we cannot have that sort of statement in this meeting. If you're going to, sorry, Anthony, if you're going to continue, we're going to leave here and the meeting will stop.
This is the meeting of the mind and.
Other people will not be leaving.
He disrupted me, that's criminal behaviour.
All right, Mr. Yeah, look, I'm sorry for that, but we do have to have a decorum of what we're doing. So we cannot have this sort of outburst. So if we have one more to do, if we're going to do that, but if it's going to flip at the same track, we're going to withdraw. Okay. So the final one was Daphne, but she's not here.
It's not here, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, so look, we'll pull the meeting back. Well, I think we're on hold, aren't we? But look, I'll call the meeting back. I'm sorry, that shouldn't have happened. We're not, it's not we're being disrespectful. We just have certain criteria we have to follow in the meeting. And that is not, and Auntie was going past what is acceptable. And criteria. Well, whatever it is, mate.
But this is council, the Martinborough Community Board is part of the subject.
We're not discussing, can you leave, please? Can you leave, please? We're not discussing with anybody. Can you leave, please? Otherwise, we're going to leave. Okay, right.
No.
This is what these people have. So if you've got a beef with them, then what you need to do is you need to go and make an appointment, go see them, drop in centre, talk to them. I want to listen to what these people have to say.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of the people. What? Thank you.
Leave, please. Pushing the barrow, mate. You've got to leave. Right, fair enough. Sorry, the meeting has stopped. We'll come back later on. Then you can generally say that if you're doing that. Now, please leave. I did so. Sorry. Okay. Now, we'll call the meeting back to order, but we have no more commentary on the rates. Now, as I said at the start, we cannot comment on what you've presented tonight. We understand what you've presented, and we will have a discussion at the end about what we can do if we can do anything. But we understand your points of view and thank you for making them. We'll accept one, we accept them.
Are we allowed to talk though too for that? I know there's no actions because rates wasn't on there.
There is an action further for rates which we'll take up when we talk about. We're not going to talk about it in the session.
Oh, but it's down further. It's down further?
Right.
Okay, yeah,
So
as long as it's going to come up.
if you have any we were in a bit of Lux land at the moment. We've just lost Robin, so I've got to. So just open discussion. Do you want anything else to say, or we're going to call it to a meeting and you're free to leave if you wish, because that's the end of the discussion about that, and we'll be back into other business. So it's not that interesting for everybody. That I said that.
Well, it's off.
So if you have anything.
We've certainly taken the notes, we've taken on board your thoughts and your feelings and what you've had to say, Roger and Rachel and Shane. We are certainly aware of the hurt and the concerns within the community. I think some of the feedback that's come from some people to the community may not be 100% correct, but we'll certainly be working through the issues and working through the concerns that people have. We've got that meeting next week. We've got submissions to read through and take on board, and the decisions that will be made as a result of that will certainly be made, taking on board all those considerations that and the feedback that we've received from the community.
So guys,
Can I?
It's brilliant.
Pardon?
Around the time of that meeting.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, tonight was actually a really good representation of our community. We were actually hearing from people from a lot of, different aspects of the Martinborough ward, which is fantastic. It's to me, because when sometimes we believe we're doing our very best, but once we know better, we can try and do better. So I've really, for myself, I've really, I have taken on board what you have said, and believe me, you are not the only ones that have spoken to us. We have heard from people throughout the community and throughout the district, and we have certainly. We're certainly taking a lot of these on board, and I think it was one of the points of the fact it was a double whammy.
I think certainly back in
it was never
2021 when the long-term plan came out, and the rates, and there was the mistake in the rates calculation of 29%. I was sitting along the side of the hall next to Brian here, and I was upset along with the majority of the community as to how that had happened and how that occurred. And here we are in this situation 3 years later. I think, and I now feel and I now understand that doing the changes that have occurred with the rating model in the same year that rating or evaluation review is done is not the right, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, and that's definitely what occurred in 2021, and it's what has occurred now 3 years later. And I didn't realise the mechanics of that back in 2021. I now realise the mechanics of it now, and in hindsight I've said to some of my colleagues that we should have perhaps parked the changes for the rating review and the system until after the revaluations had come through. And like you said before, everybody was budgeting on the 14 or the 15%, which has been forecast, but we have no idea as to what QB is going to come up with and what their valuations are going to turn around.
If you're basing your rates on QB, it is not a fair system. And I'm really sorry because people out there all use the same facilities. We live in a house with 2 people. They live in a house with 2 people. And I'm paying more rates than other people. When I tell people what the rates are, I just about have to pick them up off the floor.
Brings me up the lot. They're like, come back to Auckland.
Rise increase? What's Terry's rise increase? $200 a year. Now,
I'm down.
And
Right.
that's all.
I'm down 25. We're
So the
not
thing-
doing 90%.
yeah, so the thing that I say to you is that the council had an opportunity when it did it, I think it was its district plan. We actually did a presentation and we talked about revisiting zones within the Martinborough area.
Yes, yes, that's what I hear, yeah.
Classified as primary production. Well, we're on just over 2 acres of land. There's no production that you can do on 2 acres of land. However, there was an opportunity there for that group of people to sit down and look at the potential of what the council would have benefited from, the financial potential. Because everybody that does a subdivision pays resource consent, pays upgrading of roads, drains and all sorts. And then you get your building consents. So you then get an increase on you bring more people to the town. If the town wants to survive, if the district wants to survive, we've got to start looking at an alternative way of being able to do it. Closing the town down and saying you can't build is idiotic. What you should be doing is saying, what is an interim measure that we can do to allow us to build? And there are so many out there that do them in America with septic tanks.
Yes, absolutely.
And it is a way that would allow this town to move forward. It would allow them to be able to collect more revenue, which would in turn lower the rates for individual people. The last thing you want is people not going to be able to sell their homes and have new blood coming into the area.
It's actually completely preaching to the converted. Areas presented yesterday just on that topic.
Yeah.
To the district plan, we totally agree.
Can I just say now, we need to get back to our normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I digress.
Brendan, I appreciate your input. You're welcome to stay, but it's not that interesting. We've got to talk about the future.
If I could just make one thing that I would like to say is I really appreciate those of you who brought in signs. And I fully understand that not everybody feels comfortable to talk, but to see that and people actually holding it up, this is the actuality. Here's my life right now. That's hugely impactful without yelling or, I've even if you didn't feel heard, I want you to know I saw you tonight. So that's, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for your time. Yeah.
Okay.
Take 10 minutes.
Take 10.
It's not too. Yeah. Can we
Take out
Take it.
down. Done. Actually,
Yeah, as soon as I had it, it's going to fire, I realised you weren't behind. Everybody else. They lost your audience. Thank you, Roger. That's what I.
they do not see. They're not suitable for tonight.
That's why. That's why. Oh, we are. But it's
Just like. What do you do about that?
Yeah. Well, we just shut them down.
Would you like to see my analysis of the? Exactly. It's like, yeah,
I know that was not that.